Welcome back, Mobile Home Park Nation. Ferd, Mobile Home Park lawyer here again today with another episode. We've got a great guest again today. Our guest is a mobile home park owner-operator. He also is just a real estate investor. He's done single-family, apartment, self-storage. He does it from afar. He lives in Alaska, so we'll hear some more about that. But please help me in welcoming Patrick Hagens to our show. Patrick, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ferd. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Well, tell us a little bit more about your story. I know you a little bit, but our guests may or may not. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into MHP.
Yeah. So I started in the 90s as just a helper with my dad. He drugged me around, whether I really wanted to or not, helping with anything, changing hot water heaters. I was the guy that did all the snow pushing and the yard mowing. And anyway, he kind of got me going in it. 1999, built a duplex right out of high school. And so I always kind of had the bug. And just took a while, I just kind of stumbled along in real estate, and then took me a bit to kind of figure out my way. Did some apartments, back in 2012. The cap rate compression kind of constricted that a little bit to where I couldn't find any more deals. Did a storage facility, bought one, and just finally ended up at just frustrated with not being able to get a return, and found mobile home parks. Frank and Dave got that boot camp, and I started reading up with all of their writings, and went to that boot camp, and I was just blown away. Just hard to beat, no competition basically compared to everything else. Like my storage facility, somebody could build a storage facility right next to me and put me out of business if they really want to.
What's your address? What's your address? I'm looking for some storage.
Yeah.
I do want to hear more about storage though in particular, because that's definitely, people say it's a similar asset in some respects, that it's lower operating expenses. You don't have the toilets, you don't have as much management intensive. So can you give us a little bit of differences of the two? And I know you've got some storage that's also associated with your MHP, and I've got a little bit of that too. And I feel like it's like the ugly stepsister for me, but you like storage, right? I'm like, well, I got storage there. I'm not building storage, so maybe I should be, right? So what are the pros and cons of having them together versus separate?
So I like storage. It's my second favorite. It's concrete and steel. It's pretty simple. The expense ratio is low. I like it. I don't like the competition. I don't like the 39-year depreciation schedule. And it is a little bit more management intensive. You got to have the right manager, because it's a lot of in and out. The smaller the unit, the more in and out it is. The bigger the unit, the less in and out of turnover, but you don't make as much per square foot. So, the cost per square foot is higher. Your returns lower. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I stumbled across a great deal, couldn't pass it up. Storage facility was half empty, and I bought it and filled it and raised the rents to market, and it was a slam dunk. But competition and the depreciation is probably what, the two downsides of it.
Now the storage in your mobile home parks, was that already like that, or did you build that as a kind of an amenity for your residents, or is it not even for your residents, it's for others in the community, or some combination?
So I had the first park I bought, had a big green space in the front, and I was to the point where I was going to have to buy a shed or some place to store some of my materials for, rehabbing homes, and the mower for the park. And I looked at it, I was like, $4,000 for a garden shed, that is a maintenance nightmare after a few years. I was like, why don't we just throw up 10 units, 11 units, and I'll keep one for myself. A lot less maintenance to keep up a steel building. So I built one and rented them out to the tenants in the park, and I used a couple myself.
Okay, got it. How does the rent compare to the others in the community? Like, so I've got storage near my mobile home park, and I feel like I have to be lower priced than everybody else in town to stay occupied because of the stigma of being, next to the trailer park. Is that what your experience
Definitely,
is?
yeah. I'm not getting a premium price by any means. I actually lowered the price a little bit to get it filled up. Took a little while to fill up. It's definitely not a a huge moneymaker or like a great opportunity. I don't know if I'll build more. We are full now, but it's taken a little while to get there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a discount on the prices for being in a mobile home park.
Got it. Now, I want to hear more about your management strategy, because you told me previously you live in Alaska, and to my
Yep.
knowledge, maybe there's a few mobile home parks in Alaska. I don't know anybody that owns one up there, but none of your parks are in Alaska, right? Your parks are in continental U.S., so clearly you're
Yep.
not seeing those on a weekly, monthly, maybe even quarterly, annually basis. So what's your management structure, and what are you looking for also in future deals? Are you only buying stabilized because of being a farm, or are you buying value add? And how do you vet your deals? I'm just really curious how that works from so far away. I get nervous going halfway across the country. You're past Canada, so you're clearly doing it. So I'm eager to know how.
Right. Yeah. No, we're several thousand miles away from our investments. Um, yeah. So just reviewing a lot of deals, you can get familiar with what the expense ratios are supposed to look like. Bestplaces.net's a great place to look at the town and the metro and see what's going on economics wise. Some test ads, but I was doing it from Wyoming. I grew up in Iowa, and then I was living in Wyoming. So Iowa and Wyoming, I know better because I've been there. So when I see something that comes up, or I mail a letter and somebody calls, I feel like I kind of know the area because I've driven it a little bit. So that helps me get comfortable with it. But I'll jump on an airplane and get down there and go look at it. Management wise, we've got on-site managers at every park, and then the storage and apartments. Those are all regional managers, I guess I'll call. Not all my managers live in the park. I find it's best if they do, but not all parks come with a good candidate that lives in the park. For instance, one of the deals we did in Iowa was just a nightmare. They hadn't had a manager for over a year. It was an out-of-state owner, and had a lot of park-owned homes and rentals, and tenants had moved out, left the windows open, the furnace on, running all winter. Water was spraying everywhere.
Wow.
We show up, I take pictures, send it to the owner, and they're just like, "Holy cow!" But yeah, we're doing turnaround. It's a full-time deal. We're on the phone with the manager a lot, and it works. I probably spend a little bit more than I would if I was there, but if on the flip side of that, if I was there, I'd be trying to do some of the stuff myself, and I wouldn't be at home in my office doing mailers and trying to get another one bought. So it's okay, I think, to spend a little bit more, hire the contractors, and just have it done right and do it that way.
So yeah, as you say spending more, you mean hiring the professional laborers as opposed to handyman Bob?
Well,
or more on the management
yeah,
side?
and I do both there. One of my parks, I can't get anybody to do anything, and I have to hire contractors. And then another park, um, there's a dozen people in the park that can do almost anything. So I go back and forth on that one. But like I'll miss stuff, like the other day we had a water riser that was leaking. The manager thought that the whole riser was bad, so had to hurry up, get a plumber out of the bigger city, go over there, and it was just a fitting, and stuff like that. If I was there, and I could look at it, I might have saved myself a little bit. But yeah, it's just a different style, and I prefer it. I don't want to be there. Like, I don't want to buy anything in Alaska because I don't want to be tempted to go work. I moved to Alaska to play in the mountains and hunt and fish, and don't want to be tempted with it. So it's a great barrier to just be that far away.
That's a good way of looking at it. I hear you. It's like you if you're close by and you want to micromanage it more. Like you're the best at something. It's like even I don't mind working on spreadsheets, and I've got a financial background, but I'm sitting here. I'm like, I don't need to be spending time on the spreadsheet. I got somebody else that can do that just as well as me, and I can go work on something else. But it's like, if it's there and I'm in the middle of it, it's like I'm in the middle of it, and it's like, man, it's not as efficient. So
Right.
definitely the temptations. I get it. So what other strategies can you share with us? Obviously, you got a unique management strategy from afar that you're implementing. What other strategies do you use that you think our listeners will, would have benefit from, or do you have even, horror stories where, hey, this is I messed up on this, don't do this, that we can all benefit from?
Right. Well, the one I touched on a little bit is that one park in Iowa I bought didn't have a manager. I missed the mark a little bit on my due diligence there. One thing that I saw, I put a lot of, I guess I really look at that median home price, and this had a higher median home price, and it took me by surprise once I got the park bought. I was so confident that that median home price was high enough. I think it was a 160, 180 median home price. And what ended up happening in that market was there was a lot of really high-end homes. A lot of rich farmers had nice homes, and then there was kind of the more of the norm, and those high-end homes skewed that number. Really, it should have been more like 100,000 median home price. That took me by surprise. So it's taken a little bit longer to get that park turned around. It came with like 12 actually 16 park-owned homes. 12 of them were vacant, and we're getting it turned around. We've got a manager. We've got some better tenants in there. We've had to turn the tenant base over, but yeah, I bought that park for 187,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot. I paid more than that because I bought all the inventory. But yeah, so that was a big turnaround. But yeah, the doing a test ad was big. I was so confident I didn't do a test ad. I was like, this is such a good deal. I'm going to buy it anyway. But it might have helped me not be so surprised and when I got the park bought. So
no, that's a good lesson learned, because the test ad is really something that I try to harp on all the time with people. Is just get it on Facebook, get it on Craigslist, get it in the newspaper, and if the phone doesn't ring, that's going to be a big telltale sign. You could have a problem here. And I'm looking at a park where we're closing on Monday, and it's in northwest Nebraska, and small town. And I was like, is this thing gonna sell houses? And they've got like 20 vacancies, so we could bring in some new homes. And there's some big operators in the market, 200 unit parks bringing in new homes. So I was like, if they're doing it, we can do it, right? Put the test ad out, and what do you know? People are calling. So it's like, okay, It looks like it's going to work. Now we haven't bought it yet, we're closing soon, but that I was not convinced. And then the test ad said, hey, it actually was pretty good. So
right.
You'd be surprised sometimes. And then I've had other parks, in 200,000 metros near a state capital, and you can't sell a new home. You got to go used homes. Like nobody wants to buy, and that's where I think the median home price and just the competition, really comes into play. Where if there's B apartments for $700 a month, it's gonna be hard to sell brand new mobile homes. But if the B apartments are $1,000 a month, I can sell a brand new mobile home for $800, including lot rent, all day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people looking for parks right now, and there's a lot of parks and a lot of towns that I just am not interested in. After buying a few and seeing, what a mediocre market, how tough it is to bring in homes and get people to afford them. There's a lot of markets there that I don't envy some of these guys that are just scooping these things up by just everything they can get operations wise, and trying to infill. I mean, I cringe a little bit when I see some of these guys paying 6 caps for some of these really tougher markets.
Yeah, I feel like the asset class is becoming so popular every day. Guys like me and you are probably part of the problem, telling everybody how great it is, but
Right.
it's really bringing a lot of people into the space, and some of those folks are paying. Yeah, I think obscene pricing is just making it harder to find deals. How are you looking for deals now to avoid overpaying, but also keep them busy in the next one?
Right. So we built a spread or a database ourselves. I hired my now fiance to come on full time and be my assistant. And between her and I and a virtual assistant over in the Philippines, we built our own database, 26 states, and we mail. I've got a brochure here. We mail these brochures out and to just every once in a while we'll do a brochure whenever we get a little bit of time. We'll send one out, and then I also do cold calling. And I'm just really picky. It's just got to be the right deal. I don't get caught up in this, this frothy market. I just, like to deal directly with the owner. Now I've had to, up what I'll pay for a park, of course, because the market has come up. But yeah, I just get to calling and get to mailing, and, calls come in randomly, from letters that I sent out years ago. And took me a long time to get my first one. Started in 2015, and I didn't buy my first park until July of 2018. So really took a while. But once I got the traction, now it seems like it's way easier. But
great.
It took a while.
What kind of response rate do you get on your postcards? Because those, I know it's, historically that's like a 1% success rate, but it only takes one deal, right, to make a deal. But are you doing better than that, or are you just send thousands upon thousands?
We're sending thousands of brochures out. I believe we're right now at like 3.5%, maybe 3%, right in there. As the time goes, people call and that percentage kind of comes up. But I've got like what I call a hot call list, and I mailed out to that. It's a smaller list, and I got nothing. So over time, it's maybe up to 3.5%, but initially it's 1%, and that I'm seeing that come down. Everybody's getting these letters. I mean, I've got two right here that people mailed me, and so I mean, everybody's doing it. I think cold calling is definitely, works better, but of course, you can only call so much, and nobody likes to sit and make one phone call after another and you get shut down. It's not that much fun, but it's definitely a lot higher success rate with cold calling now than it was. Than doing these brochures.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I think that's what it takes is years and years of just doing it. And people, I've got a client. They actually do mostly single family flips, but I don't even know their budget. Their budget's obscene marketing budget, and it works. That they'll send the same person a letter like once a month for 5 years or something, and eventually they get the call, and then they're just flipping a crazy number of houses. Because everybody knows who they are, and they're on commercials and stuff, and in the business journal, and they're getting some great free press now too. But yeah, it's just persistence in action.
Yep, persistence is the biggest thing. That's the one thing that you just can't beat it. I mean, if you just never give up, I mean, sooner or later it'll happen. But if you give up, it's over.
Right.
Out.
Hey, that's right, man. Well, what other tips for taxes? You got anything for us? I don't want to cut you off, but if you got more great stuff to share, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'd say a really big one is that first right of refusal in the lease agreement keeps homes in the park. I've only lost one home, and it was right at transition. But man, that's a tough one. Bringing homes in is expensive and time consuming. If you put that first right of refusal in there, that helps a ton. And then the state associations, I think you're in Iowa as well. Joe Kelly there in the Iowa association is good. And maybe but I've tried to reach out to the Iowa or to the Wyoming state association, and I've got no response. I'm not a member of that one. Somebody knows how to get a hold of them. I'd like to get a hold of them, but the Iowa one is great.
Yeah, it's definitely a state by state thing. I've joined, I don't know, a dozen or so of these associations, and sometimes you pick up the phone and the executive director answers it. I mean, like, there's no secretary, there's no receptionist, there's no computers. Like Illinois is really good. Frank Bowman, I called him probably 5-6 times on stuff, and he answers the phone. And it's like, that's great. And he knows what he's talking about. I called some states in the Southeast. I'm not gonna badmouth them on here too much, but I left 6-7 voicemails. I get a call back from the secretary telling me, then I go to the vice president, then I go to the president, and then I had one question on what other people in the state were doing on water sewer bill back, and because the utility provider law was a little ambiguous, and I was like, I don't feel like researching all the case law here. Certainly this guy's got a cheat sheet. This has to come up all the time. And he's like, I'll have to outsource it to one of my staff members. And they got like 6 or 7 or 8 staff members. And they ended up hiring an outside lawyer to go look at this for them to answer my questions. So I was like, well, that was good. They gave me the information, but I needed it like now. And it took like 2 weeks. I'd already had done work on it myself. So it was just like, whatever. But it's weird. In some states, they don't call you back. Some states, there's almost no rules. You know, like some states don't even have mobile home park specific laws. It's just like basic landlord tenant, which is, you know, not the same, as you know. So yeah, that's definitely a good tip to at least reach out to your association, see if they're one of the good ones, and then if they are, join. They're not that expensive, and then you get free content. And when you watch, I get tired of all the emails, but they're watching the law for me. You know, hey, there's a new legislation coming. I can't watch the legislation in every state.
Right.
You know, but I can if I'm on the email list and I pay them whatever it is, $50 a year or $200 a year depending on the state.
Right. Yeah, Joe Kelly's awesome with the Iowa one. I mean, I've reached out to him several times. Totally worth it. Helped me out a ton. So if you're in Iowa and you're not a member, definitely should join.
All right. Well, good stuff, Patrick. Where can people find you? How can they reach you and get hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn a little bit. You can message me on there, or I do have a YouTube channel that I just started, Patrick Hagens, MHP Investing. And then you can email me, patrick.mhpcommunities@gmail.com. Send me an email or hit me up on LinkedIn, and yeah, let's chat.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks again, Patrick. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. Bye now.